As the show continues, Brandon Arnold joins us now, the National Taxpayers Union Executive Vice President there. As we look at the relief bill, you know, I said a moment ago that investors might be betting that the president, in calling for larger checks, is just blowing off some steam. The other possibility is if he gets what he wants, that's probably a net positive for stocks as well. It means more spending. The only scenario that might hurt stocks is if we don't get any kind of relief at all. Brandon, what's your take on all this back and forth? I mean, you guys were in favor of the bill as is, am I right?
Yeah, we're largely supportive of the bill. We see a lot of flaws with it. Of course, the president sees a lot of flaws with it. That's completely understandable. That's the nature of putting together a $900 billion stimulus package, tacking that onto a $1.4 trillion government spending package. Of course, there's a lot of waste in there. There's a lot of problems associated with the bill. But it's really, really important to get that money out the door right now. There's $325 billion of small business relief. Absolutely critically important. $120 billion for unemployment assistance. Very, very important right now for people that are struggling to find work as the economy, again, continues to struggle and recover. And here's the real kicker. I think probably the most important piece of this entire bill, $29 billion for vaccine procurement and distribution, getting that vaccine out there so our economy can get back to normal, people can get back to normal, and we can save people's lives as quickly as possible. So to hold that all hostage over this issue that should have been addressed weeks ago is a little bit frustrating. And I think right now Capitol Hill is an absolute mess trying to figure out what to do with this.
You didn't even mention the direct checks as something that you consider to be among the most important components of that, whether it's 600 or 2,000. Why is that? Do you not think that that matters as much in terms of getting the economy back to where it needs to be?
Yeah, I don't think it matters quite as much, to be honest with you. I think it's important right now because people feel like they need some assistance. They've gone through a lot. They've struggled. They've made sacrifices. So I think that money makes sense in that regard. But to push it all the way up to $2,000, I think is going too far, as Senator Paul said earlier. You know, we're talking about serious money there. That would increase the price tag of this bill by roughly $400 billion. That's not chump change here. And the problem, of course, is some people are doing okay in this economy. A lot of people are struggling, but some people are doing okay. With broad-based programs like this, like the stimulus checks, you're sending those checks not only to people that are struggling, but also to people that are pretty well off, that are doing okay. I think that's problematic. I think the relief should be targeted to people that are unemployed, to businesses that are having trouble making payroll. Those are the people that need it most.
If you're a Senate Republican, though, I don't know about Rand Paul, but certainly if you're in leadership like Mitch McConnell, you're in an interesting spot today because, as Blake talked about a minute ago, now you have a president in his last month in office who's called for something that puts him in line with the people you disagree with the most. I mean, not only Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, but people on the left side of the Democratic Party, AOC and others, they were, you know, all tweeting out last night, yeah, we're in, $2,000 sounds good. So as President Trump, with all of them, and how do you handle it if you're Mitch McConnell and the leaders on the Republican side on Capitol Hill? What do you do next?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think President Trump threw the squad into the briar patch, and they're just giggling over there. They've got the bill drafted. They've got the amendment drafted to boost the payment all the way up to $2,000. Again, that's $400 billion. We already have $166 billion in the form of checks. So that's an additional $400 billion on top of that. I think that's too much. And there's a reason why senators like Rand Paul, like Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, were out on the floor trying to beat this provision back to keep the price tag of the total bill under $1 trillion, which they were successful in doing. They touted that as a huge victory. And now they have the president kind of yanking the rug out from underneath of them over, you know, the quibbles, not just over the stimulus check, but of wasteful spending that, of course, is going to be included in the total package once you combine the COVID bill plus the regular government funding bill, the $1.4 trillion that the Congress needs to pass in order to keep the government funded. Because, of course, we're facing a shutdown. Government funding expires on December 28th, just to make Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and all of their colleagues on Capitol Hill's jobs a little bit more tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, 2020 has been a crazy year, but it almost seems oddly fitting that it would end with President Trump somehow agreeing with AOC on something. So, I mean, I don't know. Who knows what's next? Brandon, thank you. We appreciate you coming on with us. Let's move to this story about New York